Today we're going over section 7.1, which deals with simple interest. Simple interest has a formula I equals PRT, where I is interest earned in dollars, P is our principal, so how much we borrowed or invested, R is annual interest rate as a decimal, and T is the time in years that the money is invested or borrowed. So for example, principal of 8,575 was invested for 2 years at 4.25% annual interest. Calculate the simple interest earned. So for these, I tend to write out what we have before solving them. So going through, the first value they give us is this amount here. That's our principal. So our principal is 8,575. Next thing they tell us is 2 years. So we know our T is 2. And then we have our interest, which is R, is 4.25%, which we want as a decimal, so we divide that by 100, so that's 0.0425. Now we'll use our formula. So we have I is equal to PRT. So we have our principal of 8,575 times our interest rate of 0.0425 times our time of 2 years. And that will leave us with an interest earned of 728.88. So this is just how much interest is earned, not how much the amount is in total. Next one, a principal was invested for 6 months. So that means our T is 6 out of 12 because we've got 12 months in a year. So our T is 0.5. Our interest rate is 5%. Changing that to a decimal gives us 0.05. They also tell us that our interest earned was 72.25, and we want to solve for a principal. So we'll take our formula, I equals PRT, and we arrange to get our P on its own. So to do that, we divide both sides by our T to move it to the other side. So we have our I value of 72.25 divided by our interest rate of 0.05 times our time of 0.5 to give us our principal. That's going to give us a principal of $2,890 is equal to P. Okay, next thing is the amount of an investment or loan. So this is how much money we have total from our principal and interest earned. So formula is A equals P plus I, where A is our amount in dollars, P is our principal in dollars, I is our interest in dollars. It can also be written as A equals P plus PRT, or A equals P times 1 plus RT. And we get these ones simply by substituting in our formula for our interest earned. So example, a principal of 2,500. So we know our principal is 2,500. Was invested for 200 days. So that would give us a time of 200 over 365. And our interest rate is 1.45%, which is 0.0145. Now choose an equation that has all those variables in our total amount. So that would be A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. Substitute in our values. So we have 2,500 times 1 plus 200 over 365 times our R value of 0.0145. I just realized I put these two in the wrong order, but to match up with this, but it will give us the same overall value, which will be $2,519.86. Example, what principal must be invested now at 2.15% annual interest to have an amount of 236 in 3 years? So we know our R is 2.15%, which is 0.0215. We know our A value is 236, and we know our time is 3 years. So I would use our A is equal to P times 1 plus RT, and we're going to rearrange to get our principal on its own. So we'll divide both sides by 1 plus RT. So that will cancel that. So our A is 236 divided by 1 plus 0.0215 times our time of 3 years, giving us our principal. So calculating that tells us we can invest $221.70. Okay, practice work for this section can be found on page 617, numbers 3 to 16.